Have you ever wished that you could achieve lifelong immortality for yourself? Well, now you can. Maybe. A new app entitled Two-Way has just been announced from a company founded by Calum Worthy, and I'll let this ad here explain to you what's going on. Let's take a look.
He's getting bigger. See?
Oh, honey, that's wonderful.
Kicking like crazy.
He's listening. Put your hand on your tummy and hum to him. You used to love that.
Okay, so if you understand what's going on here, it's pretty obvious what they're trying to say. There's an app which is creating an avatar of someone who you can interact with and speak with, and it kind of looks like, it's confirmed later that this is a family member. It's the mother, I believe, of the person here, of the woman who's pregnant, and so the grandmother of this child. One of the first things that struck me right off the bat, and probably struck you if you are at all familiar with the series Black Mirror, is that this seems like a scene straight out of that show. If you don't know, that show's sort of a science fiction dystopian thriller anthology series highlighting the dangers of new technology, and I believe there's even an episode that basically, or several episodes, that kind of play on this theme. This idea of keeping someone alive through technology, through an AI-generated app in your phone. Let's keep watching, but overall, this is already looking quite weird.
Kicking like crazy.
He's listening. Put your hand on your tummy and hum to him. You used to love that.
It feels like he's dancing in there.
Oh, honey.
Mom, would you tell Charlie that bedtime story you always used to tell me?
Once upon a time.
Okay, so now kid's been born, and the grandmother is telling the kid, or the grandmother, the avatar, the grandmother, this false representation, this fake idea of the grandmother, is telling the kid a bedtime story when he's 10 months old. And there's so many things that strike me as just really strange and odd and wrong about a scene like this. First of all, there's the whole aspect of whether or not technology should be entertaining your kids and reading bedtime stories to them, like watching TV or messing around on the phone. That's a whole other conversation. I acknowledge that's probably a longer conversation than we can really get into here, but that is one aspect of this, right? Fundamentally, it's just a phone entertaining the kid. But then there's this other aspect that he's going to grow up, and we see this kind of as the ad continues to play, thinking that this person in this phone is a version or an extension of his real grandmother, who he never is going to meet. So not only is he going to only have an idea of who his grandmother is based off of this avatar in his mother's phone and then eventually in his own phone, but he's also not going to understand what it means when someone dies. What if another family member passes away and there isn't an avatar created of them, an AI version of them in an app that he can then interact with? What's that going to be like for him? Is he going to be able to process that in a healthy manner or a normal manner? Because to him, people don't really die. There's an extension of them that continues on through this phone. And that's something that he's grown up with. He's known his entire life, right? So that seems kind of weird and unhealthy. Whether or not you want to engage with this kind of technology, I'm not sure it's something that you should be raising your kids alongside.
There was a baby unicorn who didn't know he knew how to fly. This baby unicorn was like your mom because she didn't know that she knew.
It's also weird that his grandmother's probably not going to keep getting older. I don't know all the specifics of how this avatar works, but I don't think they continue to age the person that the avatar was created of. So she's continuously stuck at whatever age she was when this model of her was created. It's also weird that she's existing as a, human, or who they're trying to portray as a person, in this sort of really plain, bland background. It isn't like she's actually there in the room. It's someone who lives just in your phone. I'm not saying the people here who created this app think that the avatars that they're creating are actually humans or anything like that, but it's also supposed to be an extension of a person that you can talk to and interact with as if your grandmother was really here, but you're keeping this extension of your grandmother in your phone. It's just weird. Right? It's hard to even kind of explain why it's weird, because it's so unnatural that it's like we don't have the words to fully articulate how unnatural it is.
Didn't know that she knew how to fly, but she knew how to do all kinds of fabulous things.
Hi, Grandma.
Right, so okay, this was something I kind of foreshadowed a moment ago, where he's now grown up, he's 10 years old or maybe 11 years old, and walking around with his own phone, some futuristic model of a phone, and his grandmother's still there, again, looking roughly the same age, and is talking to him as if it were his real grandmother.
How was school today?
It was really fun. I made this crazy shot in basketball.
I don't really care that much about basketball. What about the crush?
Stop. Grandma, stop talking.
Just tell me one thing.
Okay, so now he's 30 years old. Grandma's still existing in the phone. And again, not any older. And now he's having a kid, so it's her great-grandchild.
Oh, congratulations.
She says that he's been kicking a lot, though. Like, a little too much.
Tell her to put her hand on her tummy and hum to him. You loved that.
You would have loved this moment.
You can call anytime.
You can call anytime? What does that even mean in the context here? You're not calling someone, you're opening up an app and just bringing them up on your screen. There's a couple things that are odd. I think it's fantastic if kids are able to meet their great-grandparents, and great-grandparents are able to be there for, be alive for the birth of their great-grandchildren. That's fantastic. But if someone has died and passed away, you don't need an avatar of them to tell you things like, oh, here's an old trick that calms the baby. Again, if they're alive, that's fantastic. They should be able to interact with you and their great-grandchildren and pass on this knowledge. But if they're dead, that should be a role, and this might be a hot take, but I don't know why it would be. That should be something that should fall onto their children, the grandparents of this child, his mother, to be like, oh, here's a trick that your grandmother, this kid's great-grandmother, taught me when you were a kid. Instead of relying on, oh, the technology of the phone will tell us what this old family trick is. No, this is something that can be passed down from human to human without having to rely on a phone to kind of get in the way. Because wouldn't it be a much better scene if he was there with his mother, this kid's grandmother, and she was passing on the knowledge from her mother, the kid's great-grandmother, if that makes sense. I don't know all their names, so it's hard to explain it much better than that. But again, here we are 30 years later, and this version of his grandmother has been kept alive in a weird, twisted, artificial way that's supposed to, like, subconsciously trick you into thinking it's a representation of this person who's been dead for 30 years. Speaking as if this avatar is that person. I, for one, wouldn't want some sort of weird AI-generated version of myself pretending to be me and saying things as if it were I that were talking. And that's where we sort of get into this last scene here. And again, I might be reaching a little bit. I might be looking for issues where there are none. I'll acknowledge that that's a possibility, but I find the implications of the scene to be really weird. So let's take a look. This is before the grandmother has died, right? So while she's still alive.
No, Mom. Just 3 minutes.
You need my best side?
Can I say another one?
I can play the piano.
She's so talented.
I am. I'm your mother after all.
Keep going. Why don't you start by telling us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, so first of all, with two-way, 3 minutes can last forever. So 3 minutes of just saying something for 3 minutes can create an entire avatar that exists as you, as the grandmother, supposedly carrying on who she is as a person and portraying who she is as a person after just 3 minutes of footage. That alone is kind of crazy, if it's true. And also unnerving because I'm sure many of us have more than 3 minutes of footage of ourselves existing on the internet. With the rise of social media, obviously I have a bit more because I have a YouTube channel, but even if you don't, and you just have a social media page, if you have any stories or reels or even images, but especially reels, any kind of video, 3 minutes of that compiled together and you can create someone who exists as if it were you. That's definitely unnerving. But then also the main issue I have with this scene, the grandmother doesn't seem to entirely know what's going on. Again, maybe I'm misunderstanding. Maybe, you guys can let me know if you think I'm reaching here, I'm going too far in my criticism, but there's a sense in which the grandmother doesn't seem to be informed about what is going on, what's happening to her, essentially. And then there's also a sense that even if she does, even if her daughter has conveyed to her some sort of idea or some explanation of what this app is, there's a sense in which she might not fully comprehend the implications of that. We can't know the implications of something like this, first of all. But second of all, older generations are notoriously out of touch with technology and don't always understand what's going on with the latest rises and trends in technological advancements. And so there's a concern that whether or not that's actually what happened in the scene, but there's an implication that that is what happened in the scene, but then also just broadly, if this becomes widespread in use, that people, and especially grandparents, will go along with letting themselves be filmed for this app that they don't understand what's going on, and then suddenly there's an AI-generated avatar of them speaking as them, without them having any idea that this happened or was going to happen. So that's kind of concerning. The other question that I have kind of just all throughout this, especially when we look at, some of these futuristic phone things, like obviously this is not I'm saying, obviously, maybe I'm really out of touch, but I don't think phones like this exist, right? So is this a real demonstration of what the app is actually doing, or is this just an actor pretending to exist as this avatar, and this technology doesn't actually exist, right? That's the question kind of I have at the end of all of this, besides the implications and the concerns with something like technology like this existing. Does this app actually do what it's pretending to do? Is it going to be the case that a lot of the early versions of the app are actually just going to be gathering footage that's going to be used to train future AI models, and a lot of what you're getting back as a user of the app isn't going to be that great? Obviously, this video and this ad went kind of viral over the past few days. I'd be curious to see if this app is actually used by a number of people and if they end up reporting on whether or not it actually works the way it's advertised to work. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I don't think technology like this should exist, even if it works perfectly like it's supposed to, especially, in fact, if it works like they're advertising and like it's supposed to. I don't think we should be immortalizing false and AI-generated versions of people to exist after they die. I certainly would not consent to that happening to me. I don't think many people I know would either. But I'd be curious to know what you guys think. Do you think this is something that you would be interested in participating in having this sort of legacy of yourself preserved after your death, an artificial version of yourself that speaks as if it were you to carry on after you have passed away? Or do you think this is, as I do, insanely weird and not a path we should be really encouraging, embracing, or going down as a society? That being said, let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching. This was a bit of different content to what I've been doing in the past, but might be an indication of some other content that I will be doing in the future. So if you enjoyed this, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future content.